honestly, I think I have the best job in the world. It's very hard for me to say uh, something negative about it, but I think the things that I wish were a little bit better and maybe more equitable. I think if we speak to any ID doc, we almost take pride in how little money we make relative to other docs. And that's because the current structures of remuneration for physicians favor behavioral, procedural specialties. So I can put in 2 hours of thought, deep thought into a patient, and I get paid less than I would in my clinic clipping somebody's toenails in 15 minutes. Um, so that's, and when you have that kind of inequity, you recognize, and this leads to disgruntlement among my colleagues. I personally have not suffered from it. I think I make enough that I'm sort of not really there was a study, I think back then, it was a little while ago. It said if you make more than $60,000, your happiness is not significantly altered by the excess amount that you make. That number may be a bit higher, but whatever you say, I think we make sufficient amount of money. That's not a problem. But the inequity, I think, stings people. And then I think the other thing that I think is hard about my job is that it is difficult to get funding for some of the work that I do, which is global health oriented, and a lot of the funding bodies are more focused in the US. So that part I find a little bit stressful in terms of getting funding and sort of getting funding for the work that I think is very important and foundational. So I feel like I think that more than anything else, I think is something that's negative and harder. If you are in oncology, for example, getting funding for your studies is usually not hard because, for example, if you're testing out a drug, the industry is very incentivized to funding your study, whereas it's not the case in ID, and especially not in global health. So I feel like that would be the difficult part of my job. And again, I wouldn't call it a con particularly. I would just say that's the challenge of being an ID doc. But again, I knew that when I was getting in, and it doesn't bother me. It's, in fact, in a way, it sort of makes me more, it makes the wins sweeter in a way when I'm actually able to secure funding.